and welcome to Business Today Television. I'm Siddharth Zarabi from the India Today Business Today studio here at the World Economic Forum in Davos, the last day of Davos, but a very important guest with me, Dr. Shyam, Bishen, the head of health and healthcare and member of the executive committee at the World Economic Forum. Dr. Bishen, thank you very much for joining us. I must also tell our viewers that you are a senior global healthcare professional. You've also worked for several years with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and that sort of sets up the backdrop for my first question. 3 years of a pandemic, and the world is still sort of dealing with some of the economic consequences of that. Yep. Global health, pandemic, preparedness, and what lies ahead were one of the key themes that was discussed in many panels here. Yep. Give us a quick recap about what's the understanding and reading of global leaders about a post-pandemic world right now in terms of healthcare.
Yes, first of all, Siddharth, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be with you this morning. We had really great sessions here in Davos with regard to health and healthcare. It was attended by some very important global health leaders, including our Honorable Minister of Health from India, Minister Mandavia. We had also Minister for Women and Child Development, Honorable Minister Smriti Irani. Plus, we had state, leaders from Telangana and other states, especially Mr. K.T. Ramarao from Telangana. So we had very good discussions with all these leaders, together with Germany healthcare Minister of Health from Germany. We had Tony Blair's in our sessions, ex-Prime Minister of UK, as well as ex-Prime Minister of New Zealand, Helen Clark. All of these leaders I'm mentioning because they participated in our healthcare sessions. So we had very good discussions in terms of the after effects of pandemic. Pandemic is almost over, not fully over, because you still see some variants popping up. You see what's happening in China. There are still pockets of infections going on. There are still many variants circulating. So we want to make sure that we control these. We can contain the new variants.
Right.
But to your point, there's been a huge impact on the society with regard to the socioeconomic structure, with regard to the impact on the overall jobs and economy. So I think we want to make sure that we better prepare for the pandemic for next time around.
Okay. Before I can come to the main question, just a quick point, if you have that information.
Yes.
Everyone who has come here is tested.
Yes.
And tested vigorously. It's a self-test that is administered.
Yes.
But the importance of the point of the forum this time round is representatives from all over the globe.
Yes.
In terms of any incidents of viruses being found, are you aware of the kind of, was there any virus infected person that was found here?
I am not aware of that. I am not aware of that.
The reason I asked
yes.
you is that this is a global sample. Really.
Yes, that's right. That's right. That's right.
But I'll move on because there's no point in that.
Yeah.
The second big thing that I wanted to ask you was former British Prime Minister.
Yes.
Talking about the need for a digital sort of global network backbone for future vaccination programs. Now, he said what he said.
Yes.
But taking off from there, India has done a pretty robust Aadhaar-linked digital certification data.
Yes.
How significant is that, especially given the global experience? Even a country like the US started off with handwritten vaccine certificates.
Yes, yeah. No, I think that's very significant. It's extremely significant, and we applaud India for doing that. I think India was on the forefront in terms of vaccinating people and coming up with the digital record of who is being vaccinated and how many doses of vaccines have been circulated. And for India to be able to do more than 1 billion doses in a short span of time, in just a few months of time, I think that was a really great accomplishment. And this is something that other countries, especially the developing countries, low and middle income countries, can learn from and can actually import this technology, the process, and the overall how to manage further pandemics and vaccinations in the future. One of the things that we are trying to do is come up with a pathogen surveillance program, working with both public and private sector, working with CDC, Africa CDC in particular, so that we have a better pathogen surveillance program. So as soon as there is a new variant, as soon as there is a new pathogen, virus emerging, the way we live now, the population is increasing, we are pushing closer and closer into the woods, cutting down the forest to live and farm. All of
and
that,
the risk of
pathogens increasing.
And pandemics.
Absolutely, and with the climate change as well.
That's
so how do we capture those pathogens?
That's a good point, because while COVID may have been contained through a massive global effort, not all of it went right initially. Much of it has fallen in place. Different countries have dealt with it differently. We are not going to that conversation. The single biggest, most important consequence that you as a healthcare professional feel has emerged due to all the learnings that have come from the COVID pandemic and the response to it?
I think the single biggest thing that has come out and the world has seen is with global cooperation, with global collaboration, we can respond to pandemics very quickly. I mean, the way we came up with a vaccine within 10 months of identifying the virus, this has never been done in the history of mankind. Normally, it takes 7-8 years to create a vaccine. We were able to come up with a vaccine within 10 months period, and that was a result of a global collaboration. I think that is what is needed, and it's clear that we have the scientific abilities, we have the technology, and we have the money, we have the finances to come up with these vaccines, to come up with medical countermeasures and respond to any threats.
Dr. Bishen, what would you tell those, and there is a small section of people who say that, oh well, the vaccines weren't tested well enough.
Yes.
There is a ongoing sort of controversy on the efficacy of one particular vaccine. I'm not going to that territory.
Yeah.
But 7-8 years of development time, testing rigorously versus sort of telescoped 10 months. Is that going to be the future for future vaccination rollouts?
I think so. I think that's the future now. In fact, we are even trying to compress that into 100 days. We had a session here in Davos. The name of the title of the session was 100 Days to Outrace the Next Pandemic. So how do we identify the pathogen? As soon as you identify the pathogen, you have a way to come up with a vaccine, you have a way to come up with diagnostic within 100 days. So that instead of 10 months that it took for COVID-19, we can respond within 100 days.
Explain this. The COVID vaccination drive broadly gave us two technologies to deliver vaccines.
Yes.
One is the sort of Covishield process.
Yes.
The other is Moderna.
mRNA. Yeah.
And the third was also the Bharat Biotech vaccine. Now, I hope that's the right way to look at it, that three broad platforms.
Yeah.
If it's going to happen in 100 days, what is the technology that will drive such a fast response?
Yeah, I mean, we saw that with mRNA technology, we were able to do things faster. But that is not to say that that's the answer to everything. Depending on the pathogen, depending on the virus, we may use different technologies. mRNA is coming out to be on the forefront, but it's possible that there are other technologies that will be applied. So.
And are you in a position to talk about any new emerging frontier, cutting-edge work that is happening?
Well, I think people are looking at further developing the mRNA technologies, further refining it. People are looking at other technologies that use the regular vectors, how to further develop those so that you can respond and come up with a vaccine faster. I am not in a position to get into the specifics, details of those, but yes, the work is ongoing.
But as a healthcare professional, this debate back home, what is better?
Yeah.
Should that question even be asked? The comparison that happened inevitably between Covishield and Covaxin.
Yes. No, I think we leave that to regulatory authorities. I think as soon as a vaccine is approved by a stringent regulatory authority, after a careful investigation, after looking at the clinical data, we fully support that.
Okay.
Yes.
As we wind down this conversation, a quick couple of points.
Yeah.
And this is specific to the Indian context, although it's relevant all over the world.
Yeah.
This is that the response to COVID
Yes.
was obviously top priority, the most urgent response.
Yeah.
But there are professionals in this space who said that response came at the cost of dealing with other longer healthcare problems, diseases and burdens
Yes.
in societies like India. Now that hopefully we are completely out of COVID, China is also dealing with it in its own way now.
Yeah.
What do countries like India and the national healthcare programs and state level healthcare programs need to do?
Yes, I think that's a very good question, because while we were dealing with COVID, as you said, other disease areas suffered, so there was a movement of resources, movement of assets from other disease areas, and people died of TB, for example, tuberculosis, they died of heart attack, they didn't get proper attention.
Obesity
levels went up, diabetes and all of that went up. So we want to make sure that that doesn't happen again in the future, and one way to do is to transform our healthcare system so that while we are dealing with pandemic, we still have resources to respond to other things, and we are not moving resources to just the pandemic. One data I saw the other day was that we moved resources from the MNCS, the maternal and newborn child health area, to pandemic, and that left about 1 million children dead, basically. We don't want that, obviously. Nobody wants that. So how do we make sure that those things are dedicated? Disease areas are not moving away from those, and I think the one way to do is to look at our overall healthcare system, use digital technologies. So one thing that the WEF, my team is working on, is to transform the healthcare using artificial intelligence, using digital technologies. And I talked to Minister Mandavia about this, that India has a special role to play here with our great knowledge on the digital side, our knowledge on the vaccine and the medicine manufacturing, our low-cost healthcare delivery. We can bring all of this together, and India has an opportunity to become a global powerhouse in healthcare.
Absolutely, and the point that you made is very, very significant, viewers. It's not just the people who actually died because of the infection caused by the COVID-19 virus. The deaths, health and economic consequences are actually far, far higher, and I don't know whether there will ever be a final count of that, but that's in the past in some ways, tragically so.
Yeah.
But there are lessons that have been taught by this pandemic, and hopefully for India as well, these lessons will translate into better action on the ground. Dr. Bishen, thank you very much for your time with us today.
Thank you.
With that, it's a wrap on this conversation. If you've been, thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.